Hi, I'm Ashwini Deshpande. I am a communications designer by training, and I co-founded Elephant in India about 33 years ago. So I'm the co-founder and director of Elephant. We also have offices in Singapore now, and it's been a fantastic journey to start one of the early design agencies in India, and the journey continues. All of us as designers are used to facing challenges, and every time there is a challenge presented, we have a method of going about solving it, because that's what design does. And we always believe that to any problem, there will be a solution if you look at it methodically. And if one solution doesn't work, another will work, and what we call it as plan B. But what COVID-19 really did, I think none of us had a plan that actually suited what happened. So, there was no plan B, C, Z, nothing worked. We had not anticipated what would happen, and we really had no idea how things would pan out in the initial weeks or months of the lockdown. And I think that's really when the whole design methodology sort of came in handy, because after the initial anxiety settled down and all of us realized that this is the way things are going to be, we started going about solving that issue very, very methodically. And interestingly, our culture was very, very well organized and very well knit. We have people working with us for a very long period of time, some of them as long back as 25 years. So we have a very solid, warm bonding in our culture. And that really helped us even working remote. The other interesting part is that we are located in a city called Pune, which is not one of the metro cities in India. It is not one of the big business cities in India. It is a progressive city. It's very well respected, but it's not one of the main cities where work comes from. And all of our 33 years, we have been located in Pune, which means we have sort of got our clients who are all around the country. We have got them used to working with us remote. So working with clients from remote location was not a challenge, because we have done it from our first day of operations. But working with each other remote was a bigger challenge. And once we overcame that, I think there was really no going back. The other interesting part that happened, which is very liberating for us, which is no travel for meetings. So you could actually do many more meetings in a day than one ever did. And I could hire from anywhere. So if earlier the talent did not want to be in our city for whatever reason, I could not hire them. But now I feel absolutely liberated. So we have people working out of 10 cities in India now. And it's just growing, and the growth is much easier and simpler, and great talent can be hired without the constraint of geography now. So it's been an interesting time, and I think we've seen ourselves coming into a different being, a more interesting one maybe, and more agile. So I was growing up in the 60s and 70s in a very small town called Aurangabad, and there was very little exposure to any professions like design. And in those days, it was considered respectable if you joined, if you became an engineer or a doctor. And most parents thought that that's the way for their child to grow up and be. But I was very fortunate. My parents did not have any such ambition on their children, and they really wanted us to do whatever it is that pleased us, notwithstanding whether it had a prospect of being successful, earning a lot of money, none of that. They just wanted me and my sister to choose things that would make us happy for a long period of time. So my sister grew up playing cricket, which was not a game played by women, definitely not in the 70s and 80s as much as it is now. And my parents were very supportive of that. And I grew up seeing that, and I said, if I have to do something, what would that be? So I used to be very interested in creating visual stories. And I didn't know at that time that was called visual communication or communication design. But I actually grew up doing that. So if I had to build a story of some characters, I would first create a house made out of blocks and then tell that story within that house. And as I grew up and understood that there is a way to express that as a profession, design seemed like the perfect step for me. And then, of course, I had to travel a distance to another state because in India at that time there were just a couple of design institutes. And fortunately, I got admission in one of them, which is called the National Institute of Design. Again, one of the oldest and most prestigious institutes in India. And yeah, that's where my journey began as a designer. So I'm going to try and refrain going to what my agency has been doing, because I think that's, you love all the work that you do, and it's just not fair then when you're evaluating. But looking at what's happening globally, I think coming from the design and branding background, I think some of the rebrands in the recent times have been very interesting. And if you see Kia Motors, which has taken a very bold step and really done their rebranding in a very different zone for appealing to a very new audience. And I thought that was a very interesting step. A couple of other rebrands from foods, I think Heinz and Burger King, both these rebrands were very interesting. They had a legacy, so they couldn't completely change. So they kind of reached out to their legacy and brought it into a very modern, new, vibrant outlook. So I think I'm intrigued and interested in how that process has been, and those are very interesting things. The other thing I have been interested in is anybody who's using alternate energy sources, alternate materials to make everything a little more sustainable. I think all those also have been interesting to me. If you were to specifically talk about advertising, I think Super Bowl, of course, is always the great place to look at creativity, and a couple of them were, I think, very surprising once again. I saw the Nissan Thriller ad, and I thought the casting was very surprising. And that's what made it more intriguing and interesting. And also, I think the Lay's Golden Years, or some, I think it's called Golden Years campaign, which was also very interesting, again, because of the surprise. So a couple of things. One is certainly, I think I already answered in my previous answer, which is about sustainability. And as we do tons of packaging design, every time we sit at the table, there is a question that, but is it going to be plastic? And what is going to happen to it later? How is it going to be disposed? Is there any possibility of circular design? How could we make it better? And I know, because I've studied this topic quite deeply, because we work on it every day, that there isn't just one way to sustainability in packaging. It isn't just replacing materials. That's just one of the ways. But there are so many other ways. You can reduce the layers, you can reduce the amount of ink that is used, you can reduce the volume of the packaging so that in transport you can save fuel. There's so many ways. And I'm just, every time I sit for a briefing, all these are the questions that I repeatedly ask the client teams. And I think at times they think I'm mad. But all these questions ultimately are going to lead to a better world. I think we have to start asking these questions. So I think I'm quite focused on it at the moment to see how things can be improved. And the other thing I'm passionately looking at right now is this whole thing of, so we have a lot of mythological stories in India and in many parts of Asia. And there are characters which have been drawn in picture books and comic strips and so on. And we believe those mythological characters looked like those. Well, nobody has seen them, but somebody has visualized them. So right now I'm very intrigued and interested and doing my inquiry into how people are visualizing mythological characters and how do we bring them to life in modern world. So that's another topic that I'm very interested in right now. So one of the things that is very interesting about AdStars is that it actually spells out what they are about, which is a combination of creativity. Of course, any award is about creativity, but they are also focused on social good, and they also focus on diversity. And I think this whole confluence of technology and social good and creativity makes it very, very interesting. It's very vibrant. and it's very, very now. Because if you leave any of these factors, it doesn't become today, it doesn't become current. So you have to have this whole confluence of social impact, creativity, digital, how it can help that. So I think that's what makes it very special for me, and I feel very elated that I'm on the jury this year. And what I'm looking for is really looking at great use of creativity with support from technology and, for the social good. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I always look for three things. One is how original is the work, and that's sometimes very hard to understand because there is so much happening around the world, and who knows who's got the idea first. So that's very critical to understand whether it's an original idea. Second is whether one has used creatively used resources, be it digital or physical or materials or processes or whatever that could be, or talent or space. Is there a creative use of resources? And what I really mean by that is there a measured use or is there excess? And the third thing is that whoever this piece is being created for, does it work for that ultimate user or consumer? Does it delight that consumer? Is it making his or her life better? So that's my three points. And if your work fits in there, then I'm good. After all that we have been through in the last 2 years, the one thing that anybody who's doing any storytelling, whether it's advertising or not, I think we have to be very empathetic. We have to know what all of us have been through, and I don't think there is anybody around in the world who has not had something hurtful in the last 2 years. So we have to be very, very empathetic, sensitive. And at the same time, I think we don't know how tomorrow is going to be. So we have to be optimistic today. So today is going to be the best day, and we have to be the most positive today, and try and find all the happiness in every moment and help our consumers, users, clients find that happiness through our work. So Elephant has been around, like I said, for 33 years, and we work in diverse domains, and we are one of the front runners. So it becomes our responsibility to do responsible design. And the focus will be in making a larger impact through lesser resources. So in every project, how can we achieve much larger impact, positive impact to our users, without causing as much harm as possible to the world, and that's the focus. And I believe that design actually has the power to do things in a much better way for many people around us, and it doesn't have to be a very large problem each time. We don't have to start solving oil spills in ocean or world poverty or world hunger. There could be a very small problem in our backyard which can be solved by design, and we can begin there. And we can channelize all our energy into that. So no problem is small to solve. Every time you solve a problem, it's a win, and it's a win for the humanity. And I think design has the power to do that. So that's really what I'm looking forward to now.